first give you a little bit of an introduction. I have a couple of slides prepared to get the conversation going, and that we then go into a discussion amongst ourselves, because then it is more specific, most probably, to the things that you would like to understand out of how Blue Ocean works the best, or how it could influence and impact your organizations. Many years ago, when Citizen M was just starting up, we were invited by the European community that had an innovation day organized to present. And the keynote speaker was Chan Kim, one of the authors of Blue Ocean. And he did the keynote in the morning, and I immediately followed him. And picture yourself about 1,200 people in an audience that all came to listen to Chan Kim about Blue Ocean and innovation. And he climbed up on the stage and yelled out into the audience, "Who thinks that innovation is good?" And about 1,200 hands went up, and everybody, believed that innovation would be wonderful. And he proceeded to tell everybody that they were rather stupid. And the reason really is because in the first year of any innovation, there is about 87% of companies that, leach into innovation that don't make it to the second year. So it is obviously incredible to be innovative and to work on new opportunities, but Chan Kim and René Bobarn were very much inspired about how can we give people guidance, how can we give people tools, how do we give people structure, so that the percentage of those that make it past a year of that first innovation and become successful with their innovation can really impact their thinking into their organizations and do better in the future. And that's really where we came in. I presented afterwards, and was invited by Chan Kim and René Bobarn to participate with them over time with Citizen M, and we participated on their second book, Blue Ocean Shift. Art even has a copy right behind him. Let me switch over to the presentation and take you through a couple of thoughts. So can everybody see this? Wave. Yeah, very good. So really, if you think of what Blue Ocean does, is it's trying to make your competition irrelevant. Now, obviously, completely irrelevant competition will never be, but the thought is, how can we differentiate ourselves? So how can we, out of a red ocean where everybody competes directly with each other and tries to one-up each other, how can we stand out, and how can we differentiate our product sufficiently so that we stand the chance to be seen and recognized as something different? Well, let's take a look how that looks. So this, hang on, one. So this is, a few slides from, hotel, rooms that we all know so well. And, good luck in trying to figure out which hotel company is which. But, they all look pretty bland. They all look pretty much the same. And there is really no differentiated product, right? And if you think of it, we as an industry focus a lot on, making sure that our chocolate mint on the pillow is maybe not, light chocolate, but dark chocolate, or has our logo embossed into it. So we're very focused on one-upping each other, but really the end result is pretty bleak. Now, if you go to the other extreme, these are also hotels and hotel rooms. The upper left picture is of the Burj Al Arab, which is a incredible property in Dubai, with the highest luxury. there is an airplane hotel, there is an ice hotel, there is an underwater hotel, you name it. So maybe this is a little bit too extreme to differentiate your product. But somewhere in between, I think it is very important that we understand that if we blend in with the masses, which is being described in the blue ocean as the red ocean, how can we become blue oceans? Well, think of the following. So this is a lake in Minnesota that hosts every year a fishing tournament. And the rule is that everybody gets the same size hole in the ice. And, everybody is fishing for the championship to get the largest fish out. And, the story is often is, hey, my bait is different than yours. I use a special hook. I go deeper. I go shallow. You can imagine it's about 20,000 participants that are on the ice there in the morning. So it is quite substantial if you think of it. What is here again prevalent? It is a red ocean, right? Because everybody is sort of in the same. And there was a group of people that created this. And obviously it's a far cry from a competition on a lake of Minnesota, but they said, what if we have fish born in the natural habitat, but in captivity already, then we do not have to catch them. So it is blue ocean thinking, it is out of the box thinking, is how can I literally do the same, but in a different way, so that my life becomes a little bit easier and I have a better stab at it, if you wish. So let's take a look at what the book describes. And they say, listen, what you need to do is you need to reduce your cost base. Well, we all understand that reducing cost base is very important in our organizations, but that comes with reducing a lot of things as well. And what I want to share with you a little bit is what we did with Citizen M in bringing down our costs. And for that, we said we will produce our hotels modular in a factory. So imagine that our rooms are being assembled, if you wish, like a car. And because of the repetition, you get a huge opportunity for value engineering. You basically do it in a conditioned environment. Waste goes down tremendously. Staging on-premise goes down. And the efficiencies are huge. So where construction is very difficult and very expensive in our industry, we try to think of an opportunity for modular construction. And with that, we brought the cost down by almost 40% of the comparable construction cost of hotels in our competitive space. Difficult to bring that down because it comes with a lot of limitations as well. So if you need to transport a produced room and you need to do that on a deep loader, then basically everything you save goes out the window for transportation or logistics. So we said, okay, then let's use the size of a 20-foot high cube container, because that's very cheap, or these days also more expensive, but it's relatively cheap to transport. Well, then you deal with a lot of restrictions again, because local code usually doesn't allow you to have your room width reduced to that extent. You deal with ADA restrictions, you deal with a lot of things. So is it easy to do that? No, absolutely not, but reducing cost is possible. The finished product, we basically pick up and send to location and Lego it together. So my kids are still convinced that I still play with Lego. We also took a different approach where the entire industry went asset light. We went asset heavy. and we own and operate our hotels, and as such had control on building our brand. And in the end, although the asset heavy is a very difficult and complicated road to take, but the cost of capital, the ability to do that gives you a lot of control back. And in the end, we feel that with building our brand, we had more control, and it gave us tremendous reductions. So again, a differentiation of how we went. So I think that it is important to realize that if you look at differentiating your product, it is not just doing a different lampshade, it is really doing something significantly different that that really sets you apart as a company. Now, the other element is you need to bring luxury up. So the cost down, and you need to bring luxury up. And we also thought, like, how are we going to do that? Because our rooms, being in a 20-foot high cube container, are extremely small. So how can we still provide luxury and have that value still be perceived? So we created living rooms, our lobbies. This is how you walk into a hotel of ours. And this is a hotel just off Times Square in New York, on Broadway and 50th. And mostly hotel lobbies in New York are very small, compressed, because we want to get as many rooms out of the buildable square footage. We took, a double height lobby, created a very luxury feel, and made it more look like your living room, or like a very comfortable environment. So our target audience being frequent travelers, people that are always on the road, we try to provide a home-like environment where there is a place to work, a place to relax, a place to be in the kitchen or at the bar, and maybe have some meeting space, but all at a high quality, with art, with decoration, with a look and feel that was very comfort. So on the one hand, very small rooms. On the other hand, very luxury public spaces. Also, the quality of all products, way higher than a mid-market hotel would do. So we are a mid-market chain that looks more like an Edition or a W or a more luxurious contemporary brand. And as such, we were able to create small and efficient rooms and used a lot of technology in there. So each room has a room controller. On an iPad, you control the windows, the window shades, the temperature, the music, the television, lighting, everything. So people have a luxury feel and aesthetically pleasing, and everything is extremely well situated so that the smallness doesn't bother them. And then we compensate it elsewhere. So I think that if you look at our product, this is a meeting space, which is more creative space, and the entire wall is blackboard, so you can work on it. And people take this out for the day, and we roll in anything that need to have. They don't get bothered. So what we try to do with our brand is create affordable luxury for the large groups. And the backdrop of this picture, you see the different type of people that would stay with us. So it could be business, could be leisure, could be, from all walks of life, but people that want to be smart with what they spend for a hotel room and travel frequently and are willing to make those trade-offs. So we did not go into trying to serve the entire hotel community or the traveling community. So families, well, we don't have rollerblades, we don't have cots, we don't have connecting rooms, maybe not interesting. We only have king size rooms, and they're small. Shares, not really handy for us. So we very specifically were willing to take certain sacrifices. And if you look at that from a focus, we wanted to keep low price and high luxury. and then combine those together. And in retail, that's maybe H&M or alike from a retail point of view. We did it in the hotel space. So ultimately, what you try to do is drive the cost down and drive the value up in order to stand out in a way that you choose to present yourself. So it's differentiation, but there also comes with sacrifices, because it's impossible to lower cost and increase value if you do it on everything. And this is, I think, where Blue Ocean gives the most guidance possible. And that is, how do you then achieve to, adjust and still maintain with the product? And basically what Blue Ocean says, hey, eliminate some. So whether that is reduction of space or whatever it is in order to reduce your cost, but do it a little, don't do it all together. There are a couple of things that you can reduce. So eliminate a little bit, reduce a little bit. On the other hand, raise a little bit and create a little bit. So as you go through all the services, all the business processes, all the things that are important for you in innovating, you can reduce and eliminate, you can raise and create, and as such, change your product more geared towards your target audience and the ability to differentiate yourself and stand apart. And it is that process that they try to show to you, that it is a piece by piece, and it is not one big idea, it's going by everything a little bit in order to achieve that. So if you then in the end look at what is the difference between Red and Blue Ocean, in the Red Ocean, people compete. It's about beating competition, but we're still very much in our segmentation, and there is a value cost trade-off. Whereas in the Blue Ocean, it's about differentiation. It's about making the competition irrelevant because you have a different product. Then maybe more of a channel approach in sales and looking at new business processes. And although it looks subtle, if you look at it next to each other, if you really apply it like we have done in our hotels, it is actually quite significant. And with that, you create that blue ocean, and you set yourself apart. Now, there are many areas that I could dive deeper into, but I think it is more valuable to start a dialogue with each other, and then be able to dive a little bit more into what is on your mind, and hopefully we can answer some of your questions and together chime in and work on making your blue ocean journey more valuable. Who would like to kick it off and start off with a question or with an observation or with a remark? Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I got up to somewhere about chapter 10. I got sidetracked, so I'm right where you guys come in. But I did notice some great points there, and I mentioned in the HFTP thing there, the empowerment of people, and I love where it's sort of after the as is canvas, that people see the need for change and they own it. And that's a big thing, because now you have everybody involved. And I like the idea of looking at things differently. Of course, it's so obvious, when you say it out loud. But what I really found interesting too is the boundaries in general, not defined as what should be, but really it's only what is at the moment. And that's, again, stuff that's right in front of your face. And it makes it difficult to, I would think, to push all that aside and get to where you have done. And by the way, Jules, always good to see you too.
Paul, a couple of observations there. So I think you mentioned something crucial in order to get out of traditional thinking and to see new opportunities. And that is best done by looking at facts. So if you become very factual in your thinking, and the question to ask, what is so, right? If you think really of what is so, then you get to see all kinds of facts. And then if you look at all those facts, then usually new opportunities arise, or you start to think of things that could be. If you look at everything with, all the emotion and all the positives and the negatives, and you're sort of in your day-to-day routine, you do not become very productive, because you get sort of sucked into your own story. So I think it is important that you first look at facts, and also we are creatures of habit. So the way you get up in the morning, you start your routine, you start to do your thing. You need to understand that innovation, or going on a blue ocean path, is not a light switch. You don't flick it on and then all of a sudden there it is. You need to set the structure, you need to set the stage, you need to prepare for it, you need to get your facts ready. And I think it's very important that you invite everybody into that process, because it never is one idea. It's always a collective of ideas, or playing off each other in order to get to a better idea. And we often think that the higher up the food chain you are, the better you are at being innovative or creative. That's not the case. So we need to understand that we can learn and get participation from throughout our organizations. And one of the things that we have witnessed by inviting everybody into that process, exponentially, we have grown so much faster and done so much better, because there's a lot of creative thinking in your organization and structures that is basically, with a lid on it, because simply the environment is not set for them to participate.
Excellent. Thank you.
Very good. Jim?
Hey, Michael. Hey, Joel. Good to see you. Michael, thank you so much for doing this. I have a question, Michael, not necessarily related to the company, because I think that when you bring people into the fold of your organization, they're prepared, or probably have heard a little bit about your blue ocean. How did you prepare the public for what they were going to see when they reached your hotel room? So, you showed pictures of us of that traditional room where we could never tell what brand it was or what hotel it was, but we can obviously tell yours. How did you prepare the public for it? How often do people reach the room and say, I can't stay here, or I won't stay here. Where's the rest of my room?
Yeah, found the closet, now where's the rest, right? I think that it's a very interesting question, is how do you sell in general? And I think in a red ocean where we try to one-up each other, we often try to overpromise a little bit. And when I say a little bit, I'm very kind. So when you look at a resort, then it's always the ideal view from the 10th floor, room 202, whatever it is, that has the best view, where 99% of the rest of the views are less than that. We try to, really outshine ourselves constantly. And what happens with that is, if you overpromise, then there is a high risk of under-delivering. And what we have done with Citizen M is be overly transparent and under-promise. And then all of a sudden, the delivery 9 out of 10 times is an over-delivery. And it's easier to deal with under-promising and over-delivering than with over-promising and under-delivering. And that is, I think, a little bit of an attitude from red ocean to blue ocean. In the red ocean, we try to one-up each other, and we're always better than everything, even if that's not the case. And we need to be realistic. So we're very transparent. We always show the room rate. We always show the location of our hotel. and we show product real clearly, what is involved in it. And if people make a decision based on location, rate, and product, then once they end up in our product where they expect a mid-market hotel, they walk in, wow, this is quite different. And to give you a couple of experiences, our first hotel we opened up was at Amsterdam Airport. And it's not only the target audience that comes to visit you there, but there's also many other people. And we often have, people that have, made a tour through Europe and they fly out of Amsterdam back to the US. And they sort of have it as the last night that they, maybe don't want to spend the full Monty anymore. And they go in our mid-market hotel. And they walk in and they go like, what is this? They're really shocked, and you see it that they're uncomfortable. And we often get the reaction like, okay, I need to check out. This is not me. I cannot be here. And the ambassadors, our teams are ambassadors because they represent the company, right? And so the staff walks up to them and says, listen, if you want to leave, no problem. I help you with another reservation. But why don't you first settle in? Come and have a drink and settle in a little bit. Take a look around, and if you don't like it, then I help you with something else. And they're settling in, and they sort of get acquainted with what it is that we offer, and basically 100% of the people stay. They love the concept. They hang in the let's say the co-living, co-working areas. And they don't mind so much that the room is not, gigantic, because they get so much compensation for it. And they walk out happy. So it is attitude, it is transparency, it is under-promising and over-delivering. Jason, you're up next, because before you fall asleep, we want to hear what you have to say.
All right, Michael. Well, thank you. Don't worry, I'm not going to fall asleep. Very exciting to be here. I've done a lot of, so I've kind of made it through Blue Ocean, but I'm also doing a lot of other work on experience management, right? And so, I find that there's a lot of synergy, right? I mean, in order to really be pushing ahead in your Blue Ocean strategies, to be having all your listening posts out there, to be gathering all that information, to be making the best decisions possible based on the experiences that people have. So I'm really curious, because obviously you started with one hotel, as you just shared, in the Amsterdam International Airport, and you've gone all over, US, Europe, and a couple of properties in Asia. So I'm curious about how that experience management really fit into that strategy. How did you kind of gather all that information? How did you get your teams to be feeding all that information into you so you can be making those great decisions?
So when you look at our organization, we distinguish quite a bit between the operational teams in the hotels and what we call the support offices. So first of all, we don't have headquarters, because headquarters always have very smart people and they're very demanding. And we felt that the people from the central offices should provide support. So they're called support offices. But in the hotels, we hire basically for culture and character. And we do not mind at all whether they do understand or not understand our trade, have worked in our trade or not. Those things that they need to know about, becoming baristas or bartending or the systems or life safety, we teach them.
And so, like, we do a daily accrual.
Somebody is not on mute.
Everybody.
Okay, very good. In the hotels, the teams are focused 100% on providing service. So we take care with technology basically about everything. The back of the house is outsourced. Everything has become easy so that their task is really to take care of the guest and engage with the guest. That's where the success lies. And then centrally, through having middleware, through being able to get data out of all the nooks and crannies of our organizations, we're able to really monitor and see what we need to do. Now, does that always go right? No, trust me, it has been a learning process. But because we have a lot of data, we start to make decisions based on data. And we actually build our own business intelligence team. So year 3 of our organization, we build a team that basically only has data analysts in there and basically are capable of looking at all data that lives in our industry, in our systems, and they act and then we're able to execute. So having frequent travelers and their needs, yeah, everywhere is universal. So where we are in the world doesn't make so much difference. The audience finds us and we find them, so that's good. But the service delivery becomes much easier. And because we're owner operators, we have control over the processes. And that makes it a lot easier, even though, we operate from Taipei to Seattle and from LA to Kuala Lumpur and everything in between in Europe as well. So it's focus. And I think that is one of the elements as well about Blue Ocean. Don't try to do everything. So stay focused on what is realistic, and with that focus, realize what it is that you set out to do. Does that answer your question a little?
Yeah, I think, and I'll just have a quick follow-up though. So what destinations can we expect to see from you in the future that could be under development, and will that include a location in Hong Kong possibly?
Well, I would love Hong Kong, and we have been looking there, but I'm not sure if you noticed, but land prices are just slightly higher than everywhere else in the world, just a little bit. But no, we look at opportunities, but returns in Asia in general are lower than in Europe and the US. So there's still so much, opportunity for us where the returns are higher. But yeah, it would be wonderful. But we make our decisions not on where it would be nice to be, but also where it makes sense to be. So a little bit. And the other thing, what you see is that we constantly react to the market and do trial and error. So during COVID, we came up with subscription. Why? Because we saw a different type of routine of people having moved out of the city, going to the cities for 1 or 2 days a week, and it became a different commute. So we started to sell, 10 rooms at a lot, or a room for the whole month, or a different type of subscription models to learn. And sometimes it works and sometimes we fail at it, but it is also trial and error that you need to be willing to handle. And failing is not bad. Not recognizing that you're failing and having your ego in the way, that might be a little bit of a problem. That's expensive. So great. Mr. Conti, what an honor to have you with us.
Well, it's nice to see you and Jules. Jules is getting a lot of pub today too. So the thing that stands out to me, Michael, and we've talked a lot about how you design the company and the Blue Ocean strategy with you, and really the brilliance of the design of everything. But when I saw the pictures of all the rooms, what struck me is if you did a pictures of all the employees in those hotels without the logo, they'd all look the same. And the thing that shocked me the most is when I walked into Times Square, not just that, but that the employees looked very different than every hotel that I've ever been in. The ambassador who checked me in had 2 arm sleeves of tattoos, but was the nicest person on the planet. But the brands that I had worked at in place would never have hired somebody like that. So how did you take the company design and Blue Ocean strategies from the physical assets and how you're running the business? It feels like that also turned into how you were hiring staff and the ambassadors that are there, which is very different than what you see in the traditional world.
Yeah, I think that very eloquent observation. I remember having to be in Munich quite a bit, working on a project, and I would fly in from Amsterdam, and the company that I worked with would come to the airport, and we would work for a couple of hours, and I would fly back. And we were always at the Hilton there at the airport. And after about 2 years meeting there, several times a month, all of us went like, something is different, and we couldn't figure out what it was. And we looked, and we figured out finally by asking that it had become a Kempinski hotel. So the logo changed, but everything else remained the same. So that's pretty sad if a company changes hand like that and your brand is not differentiated. But I think that where do you stand out and what you do needs to be consistent. And that is in a lot of business processes. And staffing is very important to us. And there, what we looked is that a frequent traveler, what do they perceive hospitality to be? And, in a lot of ideal worlds, hospitality is a big smile and open arms and being received that way. And we basically determined that hospitality would be a human connection, genuinely interested people with the right values hosting you. And as such, we do not do interviews. We do casting days. And imagine a casting day initially when we open a hotel, or a sequential casting we do once a month in a city. And basically that's a 4.5-hour interview. That's how people get invited. So about 50% show up. And, when they walk in, we take a Polaroid shot from them, and they register, and they first half hour, we have coffee, we have, all kinds of niceties for them out there, and we do nothing. And we observe them mingling. So strangers meeting each other and see how they mingle, and we observe that. Then we introduce them to Citizen M as a brand and Ambassador as a job. And then we do workshops with them. And the workshops are designed to observe one-on-one behavior, group behavior, or various skills. But it is always to reveal their character. And basically after the first 10 minutes, they've forgotten they're on an interview. They drop their shield and their guard. And we are able, through these workshops, to observe their true characteristics. And basically 99.9% of our hires are smack on. And then we teach them the skills, over time. And what we're capable of doing is providing the frequent traveler with that honesty, with that kindness, with that what struck you as well. And that is very successful. And we have a guest satisfaction index that we keep track of 92.4% across the company for the past 10 years. And if you look at the competitive landscape, even 5-star deluxe properties have a problem breaking the 90. And that is not, Daniel, because we give the best service, but the price value, the intensity, and the connect makes the difference. And it's never the room, it's never the decoration, it's never anything that we do that people, make remarks of when they give us feedback. It's only the ambassadors. It is their ability to connect. And then thinking differently, we also do not have a pyramid like this with, very important people at the top and a little less important people. And then by the time you come all the way down, the ambassadors, we invert the pyramid because they are at the top and they get incentivized on guest satisfaction, nothing financially, only on guest satisfaction. And the rest of the organization supports up. And it's the secret, it works. They are 100% empowered to make any decision that they have to. And we also gave them a tool. So we all know that the best bartender that you have in a bar where you go constantly needs to give that one beer away every once in a while. But if he gets caught giving the beer away, we have to fire them, right? So how does that work? So we created on the cash register a button that is called a random act of kindness. And if the ambassador think that they want to do something as simple as giving a beer away or as complicated to whatever it is, they just ring it up or take the money out of the cash register and are able to do that. And then in our workplace, we start competition amongst the ambassadors to one-up each other on, hey, I have done this special, or my random act of kindness was that. So guests really experience that unique opportunity to get attention. So that's a little bit how we did it.
I'm going to add one little thing to it, because I've heard about this too. This hiring process, this observation process, they've ended up with people that themselves thought they weren't good ambassadors. And the people that do this observing and hiring have been able to pick people and have been able to grow people that otherwise might not have grown.
Yeah, and the most gratifying, and I think that goes back to the first observation of Paul, engage everybody. We have ambassadors that started with us at Schiphol, at the Amsterdam airport in the opening, and many after, that are right now, senior executives in the company, and their traits that they always had in them, that were just still wonders in the world. And now that they have, evolved in their interest fields, they have become extremely valuable for the company and grown within the organization. So it's fun to see. Very good. Let's move on. Jonathan, you.
Hi.
Hey,
Good morning. How's everybody?
Go ahead,
I wanted
Jonathan.
to I just wanted to sort of, there's some things that we all deal with in a sense of, and that is on long-standing businesses, and that's a sense of tradition. I mean, if you have a 80-year-old business that has done stuff and especially like, in our industry where you have multi-generations growing up in the same conditions, it's sort of an expected that the norm stays. Get what I'm trying to say? And that's the hardest thing to break, is how do you break that cycle?
Yeah, I think I'm very happy you bring this up, because most probably the most difficult thing is for organizations to switch from what they do every day or have done in the past to looking at something that is new. And sometimes there, are such a great events that we have to think of the pandemic. How did we all had to adjust in the pandemic? If it was not only for, health or restrictions or things that we were all of a sudden obliged to handle differently. So we are capable as organizations and as individuals to change, but if that change is not announced, and if that is not an effort that stands out, then it's not going to happen. So just showing up at work, everybody doing the same thing, nothing is going to happen. So somebody needs to announce that. And I'm not saying it always needs to come from the top, but in a way, if it is not supported by ownership, by the board, by the C-level, by the people that really need to back up change, then it is very difficult to get that change sustained throughout the organization. It can start anywhere, but it needs to be supported afterwards at the very top. But then I think that everybody, and that's what came up also from Art's introduction, is everybody is capable of affecting, participating, and influencing change. So even if it's very small, recognize it, bring people in, applaud them, and immediately create a culture whereby we do not ridicule failure, we celebrate failure. Why? Because it's through trial and error that we do that. And, in our organization, it's very normal that people start a meeting with, let me tell you my latest mess up. Oh my God, I can't believe I have done this stupid. We all worked on it and this was what went wrong. And it's almost like people are proud of it. And the funny thing is that what happens is that a lot of other people start to participate in that thinking, how can we do it better? So bring everybody into that fold, and changing an organization is one bit at a time. And what we have done at our support offices, we started to learn that hierarchy is a very traditional way of looking at things. And if you look at contemporary organizations that are very successful, most of them work in holacracy. And most of them have, agile at the core of it. And agile being a participatory way of your knowledge field that you need to participate in creating something new, no matter where you sit within the organization. And we have even adapted right now our support offices to go completely agile, where normally agile is more found in tech companies or different structures. We're applying it right now, and we see a lot of benefits because many more people can participate and have knowledge and information about what it is that we are trying to affect. And so it starts little with a seed. It needs to be supported from the top. Otherwise, it's not going anywhere. And it's very risky if it's a loose cannon and it starts to, sort of move within the organization. It really needs to be structured. But then if you really enlarge it, it can become very successful. It's a very good observation. Thanks.
Michael, we've only got time probably for 2 more questions. I see Steven's got his hand up, but there's been a couple of questions from Raman out there. And I think in particular, the second one that he's got, posted on the chat box. I'm curious to see what your thoughts are in reference to that. And then we can go ahead and have, Steven bring up his question.
Can you read it to me, Art, instead of for me trying to dig it up?
Absolutely. His second question was, how can you create blue ocean strategy when you are part of the brand and have to follow brand standards? We face this challenge every day.
Yeah, I think that, brand standards are important and people have affinity with the brand, and brand standards is something that gives them recognition and let's say stability in the product that they expect. But I believe that if you concentrate on being stuck in brand standards, then you will find only opportunities that restrict you. Whereas there might be a lot of opportunities outside brand standards where you're able to make a lot of inroads. And I would say is start with that. I also do believe that brands need to implement brand standards because of the uniformity and the consistency. But it's not one person that sits, at a headquarters somewhere that says, okay, we can add a line to the brand standards and it is now this. It comes from somewhere. So if there is a right presentation of opportunities, it is asking for the right support, or it is being trialed first, and it is not focused on the restriction but of opportunities, then maybe it's a little bit easier. So what happens often, and it's not only with brand standards, every organization has rules. So people usually limit their innovation by saying, okay, that is not allowed because of this rule. That is not allowed because of that rule. Well, then you never get there. So you first create by eliminating all the rules in your mind, and then you go back to reality and say, okay, how does it live now? And where would I like it to end up? And then little by little, bring it along. So don't get discouraged by limitations, rather see it as an opportunity to first trial and get support, and don't look at the limitations, look at the opportunities, and there are plenty, trust me. Very good. And then Art, who do you say else had a question?
Looks like Steven.
Steven, go ahead.
Hi, Michael. Thank you. Very informative session. Your strategy, obviously based on your Blue Ocean strategy across your different continents and countries. Were there times where you'd look at a place and say, well, we're going a bit too red for us in this area, we'll give it a skip, or was it a relook at it and take that area and make it more blue as far as your brand and your strategy was concerned?
Well, it has maybe a couple of angles in this answer. Is that first of all, I think that if you look at values, and if you look at characteristics and conscience of people, and you try to see if those live the same across the world, I would say the answer is yes. So do they sometimes represent through a local language or culture or government restriction differently? But people by and large have the same motivators. People by and large would like the same things. but you still need to be sensitive and adjust a little bit where it's necessary. And for us to deal with that, I instituted in our organization only one rule. And that rule is respect. And I'm very, black and white with respect, is that if you do not understand what respect is, please get lost, leave. If you understand what respect is, then everything else we can solve together, because then all of a sudden we're not different anymore. We have the same respect and we will figure out what needs to be done. So universally, people are driven by the same values, but it can manifest itself slightly different in different areas. And then there are things that you need to be sensitive to and be able to learn. And I believe also transparent. So we are pretty risky when it comes to the way we express ourselves in art and things that we use. And it might be abrasive in some countries or in some environments. And we will adjust and be sensitive to that. It's something that you learn. But in a broader situation, when Black Lives Matters played such a major role a couple of years ago, we're a Dutch-based company, and we said, it's very important that there's equality for everybody. And our teams that speak out because they don't see any hierarchy or any level, they just say what's on their mind, says, no, you don't get it. This is not about equality for everybody. This is very specifically about Black Lives Matters. And where we needed to learn and shift our thinking, we were able to do so because we created an environment where it is very normal to provide that feedback. And trust me, that feedback was not gentle. That was straight through the front door and given very direct. And we become enriched people because of that feedback. And I think that that's what you need to understand, that innovation is not only product related in the end, but innovation takes place in us as a group, as a community, as an attitude, changing what it is that we want as outcome. And whether that is a product or a business process, or whether that is a service, or whatever it is that we impact, let's do that together and be better because of it jointly, and not by measure in one particular area.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael, and great to see you, Jules, as well. Awesome presentation. Victoria, all yours.
Well, thank you, Michael and Art and Jules. We want to hear things that you've learned. What's kept you going and who has inspired you? We want to engage that part of this journey in the program, leadership. Please continue today's discussion with the online leadership community. Things have been a little bit quiet there and we had some technical issues, but we're back online and we want to hear from you. Also, please watch the community and more details about next month's Ideas Exchange. The group will provide written responses to posted questions. The May session will dive deeper into those written responses with the group's finding presented in a white paper. Finally, I also want to thank all the leaders and volunteers on this session today for National Volunteer Week. Our volunteers who give back to the hospitality industry is nothing short of inspiring. So thank you for all the leaders on our call today, and many thanks to our presenters, Michael Levy and Jules. Thank you for presenting such a wonderful book session for us. And this closes today's event. See you online.